Welcome to the current investigator discussion series. For those who don't know, a new taboo list just went up, and it includes a current format where only the 3 most recent expansions, the core set and the starter sets, are allowed. Today, we're going to be talking about my theorycraft for all the rogues, what I think their best decks look like, and for this entire series, I'm going to be using a 29 experience limit. I'll go up to 35 if they're able to play the Great Work, which is the only experience permanent allowed, other than Aesthetic. And in every episode of this, I'm going to be starting with the weakest character, ending with the strongest, talking about them in what I perceive to be ascending power order. Which means we're starting, to my shock, with Alisandra. Alisandra didn't strike me as a character that would be in contention for the worst character in the format, but in my eyes, she is hands down and no contest vastly inferior to Skids. God, what a world. What a way to start the series. In this series, I won't be talking about all the things the class lost, but I will be covering a lot of them just as an intrinsic part of talking about each character in the class. So with Alisandra, let's start about the notable absence from her deck. I'm not running fine clothes. I'm running Walter Fitzpatrick. He's doing his best. He's trying real hard. But the dude's half of a fine clothes for more resources and an ally slot and 2 experience. It's rough. It's also very worth noting that +1 skill value and -1 test difficulty are not the same. This is notably worse in many ways. So not having fine clothes and not even having half of fine clothes at level 0 is really rough. So rough, in fact, that Power Word is sitting down here in the side deck. Even with the new taboo where this, oh god, it's just a mess to look at. This 3 head test they added goes down to a 2 head test. Alisandra has a base head of 3. That's up 1. 2 if you have Walter in play. What other head pumps do we have? That's it. Are you confused? It's because I listed them all. The list was nothing. There are no head pumps available to Alisandra. In fact, when we're talking about rogues, the number of stat pumps available is basically just Cat Burglar. Fox Mask exists, but it's very hard to refuel. It's sort of just like 2 copies of manual decks that eats a Crypt Chill. Rogues are bad off in terms of bumping their stats up permanently. They're also not well off in terms of economy. Bank Job is kind of the only show in town. There's no Faustian Bargain, no Easy Mark when you're leveling up. There's no Hot Streak. There is very little left in the way of rogue economy, and I think every single one of my rogue list is running 2 copies of Bank Job, which is rough to say the least. That is a huge step down. So the fact that we can't actually pass the test on Power Word, you know, the test for spending 10 experience and an action to take, it's not that big of a deal. It turns out that it kind of works out in the end for us because we weren't able to afford 3 copies of Power Word in the first place because our resource generation's kind of awful. And since our stat line can't be boosted and we're just looking at 3, 4, 2, 4, that's what we have. Doing any tests kind of sucks on Alisandra, actually. It's why we're running lockpicks. It's one of the few tests we can actually do. There's no way to bump up that book permanently. No Gias, no Big Money, no Lola, no nothing. So if you're just looking at 4 book, I mean, you've heard me complain about Bob before. 4 book is not enough. You have to do more than 4 book. That's the bare minimum. And Alisandra really struggles. She has some valuable things, but by far the strongest thing left to her is Eyes of Velusia. And sure, Eyes of Velusia / the Blade of Yath is actually solid, but it's an 8 experience card. Well, you're getting 2 of them for 4 each. It's a lot of experience. You don't have it initially. What are you doing at level 0 to flex fight? I don't know, using Fox Mask and manual decks to play Backstab and a Bulldog? It'll work. It'll do something. You can make Alisandra function. I think you'll be able to play this and succeed in a campaign. But like the things I think of as being quintessentially Alejandra don't exist. And I would love to include True Awakening in this list because she is a drifter, she can run it, but I don't even know what to cut for it because I'm already having to run Friends in Low Places just for items and tricks to tutor out Lockpicks, Eyes of Velusia, Beguile, Grift, and Snitch. Like, it's a really good Friends in Low Places, but genuinely, the deck barely does anything. You obviously can't make Fighter Alisandra. We can't actually use Power Word as we established, so maybe you think I should try to play a Clover. And yeah, there is slightly more support for that with stuff like Confound, but that's kind of where the list of stuff that's really benefiting the deck ends. So at the end of the day, I think the best thing Alisandra has going for her is just like Eyes of Velusia in a dream. There's not a lot I can do to make Alisandra work. She's one of the most frustrating characters in the current format. And really, maybe the biggest example I have for why I think the current format is in need of some sort of change in product design to enable it to function, because this is just painful. Every rogue is a little painful, but Alisandra is by far the most frustrating. Kaimani is almost as frustrating. Kaimani has a notoriously action-inefficient ability that becomes incredibly powerful in conjunction with cards like Blur and Stealth, cards that do not exist anymore. Normally with Kaimani, you're looking to pick up cards like Trenchcoat to boost your foot when you're evading. That doesn't exist anymore. There's no good jacket to put a hidden pocket on. I'm not even sure if hidden pocket's in the card pool. Let me double check that. Yes, you can play the hidden pocket. It is in Scarlet Keys like I thought, but as I said, there's nowhere to put it that's good. Pickpocketing level 2 doesn't exist, so your economy is permanently hampered, and getting back to that whole Trenchcoat thing, the Tarot is gone, the Gias is gone, the Big Money is gone, Lola and Delilah are gone. Every single thing that boosts foot other than Cat Burglar is gone. That's why he's in the side deck. I'm genuinely considering running Cat Burglar. Things are that bad for rogues. So, what do we do with Kaimani then? We kill enemies 2 actions at a time. We have a Thieves Kit. You can run lockpicks. I don't have them, but maybe you should, but hand slots are limited, and one of them has to be a Bulldog. So spending experience on lockpicks when I'm really looking to run a Microscope seems wrong, and Microscope does help to make up the lost tempo when you're killing enemies with 2 evades by giving you 2 uses of the Microscope, well, 2 evidence on it, to get multiple charges at a time. But dude, it is so rough for Kaimani. They become so much less reliable by losing all of their buffs. They lost a lot of their best skills, events, and assets. It's just hard out there for Kaimani. I have them in the bottom tier of my tier list. Maybe they deserve a little bit higher than that. But dude, Kaimani has lost so much. Their base 5 and their foot does help them a lot. The fact that their ability guarantees they can function as a flex character helps them a lot. But the fact that this deck probably needs to make a cut for Cat Burglar, because base 5 foot isn't enough, you need to get to 6. And Cat Burglar is the only way to do it. And he costs 4 resources that I just straight up don't have because Bank Job is the only rogue economy. Rogues were a constant source of frustration, and characters with off-class rogue access like Wendy got hurt just as badly. Kaimani's really a lot worse than they were, and they already were not incredible. So Kaimani, not the worst rogue. I think that easily goes to Alisandra, but not looking too hot either. It is mind-blowing to me that I think Skids is middle of the pack for rogues. But Michael McGlynn just came out and he plays the same game plan as Skids does. You might, in the previous metas, have thought, you wouldn't want to play Michael McGlynn. You want to do any sort of thing using Dirty Fighting. I put Dirty Fighting on my Skids deck as soon as I opened this, and I eventually took it out. Because, how am I going to evade them with base 4 foot and nothing that boosts it? Dirty Fighting being contingent on a 4 difficulty test against enemies that frequently have 3 or more foot is just unusable, unfortunately. Skids can't do it. He can use Robert Castaigne, though, and as we covered in the FAQ video, yes, it does work the way I said it worked, which is the way the card reads. You can reveal your gun, shoot it at somebody, and then just put it back in your hand, which is really, really important when Bank Job is the only show in town and you cannot afford to play your gun. Skids is obviously suffering here. I would much prefer to be playing Legacy Skids and having a better deck than this, but honestly, this is not that much worse than Legacy Skids. A lot of the stuff Michael gave him is like maybe a little bit marginally worse than an optimal Legacy Skids, but Robert Castaigne is so strong that it largely makes up for losing Dirty Fighting. Then you have like a little bit of extra burst with Remingtons and Lugers getting added. Skids just works, right? Safeguard is the only movement tech left in the game. He makes really, really good use of Wolf Mask to be, you know, impervious to half the Mythos deck, which is more than most people. It's not a great deck. I would really like to do more than this. I've got emergency cash in the side deck because I'm looking at this and thinking I probably can't get by on just Bank Job stand together. My teammates probably want some of this money anyway. I probably have to cut something for eCash. But also I have Watch This level 3, so maybe I just upgrade eCash into Watch This level 3 because there is no Watch This 0. There's a lot of stuff like that where I would really like to change the deck, but I think this might be optimal for Skids. And despite being a 20 asset deck, I've got a lot of assets here. I've got guns that are all right, and you know, some of these guns need to stay in my hand. Some of these guns are sidearms, so it's hard to justify putting any more guns in the deck. But stuff like Lucky Cigarette Case, yeah, this is a 20 asset deck. Doesn't mean I'm running every asset I want to. This just happens when you play Skids. I don't know why he uniquely is so prone to it. But I do think this is a totally functional fighter deck where the entire deck core Like, counting watch this level 3 is 17 experience. So yeah, Skids is just a functional fighter, and other rogues have suffered more than Skids did going into current. Which brings us to our 4th ranking rogue out of 5, Winifred. Winifred got murdered. Just like I said with Kaimani, you need more than 5 foot. 5's kind of the minimum. And in Winifred, I am running that one-of cat burglar that I'm eyeing in Kaimani. Because if I'm playing a game around bulldogs and thieves kits and only testing foot, then I kind of have to run the cat burglar, I feel like. Maybe I can cut him. I don't want to buy this card. I certainly don't want to spend 4 experience on it, but it's not like any other ally does anything for the deck anyway. They banned all of them, basically. But it's not just the loss of stat pumps that hurts Winifred. These are the assets I would rely on in Legacy, but there is no sleight of hand. I have to hard play the bulldog and manage my ammo. I can't just keep sleight of handing it out over and over and over again. Same with the thieves kit. Additionally, these skills are a lot worse. You'll notice Double Down in the side deck, which maybe should be a main deck card and upgrade over something in here, because there is no Savant anymore. Double Down's kind of all Winifred's got in terms of a question mark icon card to beat the Mythos phase. There's also no Ace in the Hole, Winifred notoriously being able to draw Ace in the Hole like every 2nd or 3rd turn after her first cycle through the deck. Winifred has lost a ton of power. Her ability still reads draw a card every single test though, which is pretty good. Maybe instead of going for dirty fighting, since you already attack with foot anyway, you cut the dirty fighting, you cut the cat burglar, you just put in 2 copies of Double Down. I'd be a little bit worried about economy. Maybe the next cycle's fast enough to keep it afloat with watch this. Then again, I cut 7 resources of assets. That's probably better. It seems wild not to run dirty fighting, but either way, I'm having to pass the base foot test. Dirty fighting might stay, but I think Double Down is definitely an adjustment that should be made. I'm going to go down to a 1-of Nimble. I think that's a change I eventually made in my final Winifred list. And I think Double Down is just too important. Maybe the 2nd Nimble comes back in, but something like this. You can make a Winifred deck that still looks and feels like Winifred, but you have lost a lot of really, really powerful cards, and Winifred is a lot worse than she was in Legacy. I want to be clear, Winifred's not as far above Skids on the tier list as I want her to be at all. Which brings us to our best rogue by far. It's not even close. Winner by a landslide from rogues, it's Michael McGlynn. This dude's got 5 in his proactive stat. Everyone else is out here pretending foot matters when we banned every single foot pump in the game. Michael McGlynn knows how this shit works. Foot doesn't matter, fist matters. I'm gonna go kill him now. Robert Castaigne is completely cracked. He's good enough to make Skids function. Imagine what he does when you actually have a 5 in fist instead of a 3. We also get access to the upgraded Remington, whereas Skids doesn't have anything like this. Upara is banned. So yeah, Michael's a lot better in that regard. He also has better Mythos stats. He's more easily able to pass Mythos by actually using watch this as Mythos resistance. It does just have 3 question marks on it. Promise of power with gambling. This is basically the Skids deck. Is this actually just the Skids deck without safeguard? Switching back and forth between them, like the guns change a little bit. There's no safeguard and wolf mask, but yeah, that's the same man. This is just the better Skids, and like way better Skids. I don't feel the need to talk about it a lot. This is exactly like Legacy Michael, except you lose some of your best guns, best skills, best events, and your best economy, and now you're running bank job and pretending it's okay. For anyone wondering about calculated risk, it's because it's kind of the only way to deal with Frozen in Fear. Something really important when you're looking at your characters, Warded Protection and Ultra Fate don't exist. Well, Warded Protection level 0 does, but the point is, you handle this one, not in the game. Ward level 2, not in the game. Ultra Fate 1 or 3, both gone. If you get frozen in Fear, you have to get unfrozen yourself. Calculated risk does that, and there are very few cards Rogue has that lets them do this. Which is why Skids is running it, it's why Winifred's running it, aside from just being a skill, it's why Kaimani is running it. The only character not running it is Alisandra, and she's running Guts with a base 3 for the same purpose. So Rogues lost a lot. Their niche as the best economy is gutted and gone. Their ability to spam out tons of actions with stuff like Ace in the Hole isn't happening. Their Mythos resistance is much worse, though they still have some solutions. And they're generally just in a really bad spot. I would say that Rogue is hands down the worst class right now. It's not even close. They got put in a time machine and it's not going well for them. It's baffling to me that somehow we have 2 5-foot rogues built around the Foot Matters archetype and relying on their foot, and yet somehow Foot Matters is a comically incomplete, borderline unusable archetype. It turns out that just boosting your numbers is really important, and if you can't get above 5, you're gonna have a bad time. That's basically the summary. And as a result, it's no surprise that the one character with a good proactive stat and the ability to boost it in any meaningful way is by far the best rogue. I'll also go ahead and mention that In the Thick of It's Gone, that affects every class, but it notably affects rogues a lot because every rogue took it for easy mark. So every rogue's level 0 deck takes a meaningful hit. It might affect some characters more than rogues, as rogues usually, at least at my table, split the other 2 experience on Karen's Obol, but still, losing Karen's Obol is just a different hit to rogues. There's a lot that rogues lost. Some of the rogues like Wifred and Skids are able to put together new decks that are good enough. Michael basically just runs the same old deck with a couple of meaningfully worse substitutions, but decks like Alisandra and Kaimani got absolutely hosed. They're really bad off with the changes in current. Anyway, that's what my first day and a half of theory crafting rogues left me with. A sense of overwhelming disdain that rogues have been put in a time machine, and the rogues really shouldn't be going back in time. It was not good times for rogues in 2017. Anyways, thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good night.